Hello there, Ben Bowers, the Spirit Specialist, and this is, I suppose you call it the second of a new series, even though it's only the second, of a range of videos that are basically in conversation with a particular brand, distillery, specific focus, talking to the people kind of involved with the brand, be it sales or the actual creation. And this time we are looking at Benromach, because these videos will also be accompanied with a tasting pack. So you will be able to drink along if you wish to. So this tasting pack was basically inspired once I found out that there was as part of their contrasts range, Benromach had in particular two bottlings where the only difference between the two was whether the cask was air dried or kiln dried. And that was the inspiration for putting this pack together and then having a conversation with what was originally supposed to be Luke Todd-Wood, who is my ex-colleague from Gordon MacPhail, who owned the Benromach business. He's still with them. We were going to sit down and have a chat. Unfortunately, had to reschedule it because of a couple of family issues. But as it turned out, the night that we were then going to get together for the second time, he was actually with Keith Cruickshank, who is the master distiller and just an absolute force of nature on his own, as you will know. So what we can do is we went through these 6, and there are still packs left available at the time of recording. So if you want to, you can purchase one of these packs, watch it on its own if you want, but it's a lot more fun if you can drink along, particularly with the comparison between the air dried and kiln dried, and also the peat smoke, bourbon matured, and sherry finished. So in this pack, we have the Benromach 10-year-old, which is basically being used as a baseline to then compare with, at the very least, the next 4. Because the sort of the comparison is quite obvious, and they are all similar age, and again the maturation is basically the same in terms of the level of peat, etc. in it. We've got the 2 contrasts. So this is a virgin oak matured, but one set of casks have been dried using air, and the other set of casks have been dried partly with air and then finished off with a kiln to kind of speed the process up. We've then got their peat smoke version, which is just the peated barley that they get. They don't use any unpeated barley to kind of tamper it down a little bit. We've got a full bourbon cask maturation. We've then got bourbon cask maturation with a finish of about 2 years in Oloroso sherry casks. And then to finish, we've got a very special one. This is a single cask bottling that's exclusive to the UK. So if you're watching from outside the UK, unfortunately, you're going to really struggle to get it. And this is an absolute beast, and that was a first fill sherry hogshead maturation all the way through. Keith and Luke did join me for about an hour, hour and a half. Keith did most of the talking, as is his wont. There is some absolutely fascinating insights from him. He is probably too honest in terms of he's a marketer's nightmare because he tells it like it is. There is no marketing bullshit around with him. It very much is, this is the situation with the industry, because he is the guy with his team, hands-on. He's been with Benromach since it opened as he says, you know, one of, if not the first kind of like what you would call a craft distillery now. Small scale, experimental, playing around, essentially kind of starting from scratch to an extent, but also trying to kind of find their way in the market. Now really highly regarded. Again, at the time of recording, everything is available. I have 1 bottle of the single cask UK exclusive left, just the one. There are no more left at Gordon MacPhail, so I can't get any more in. So once I've sold that, that's it. I can't get any more. I highly recommend, and I'm probably going to put it on the website as a double pack, the air and the kiln dried. There's no real advantage to buying one or the other, as if you've got the pack, you will see when you try the 2 side by side. One element does take it in quite different directions, and it's fascinating to see the 2 side by side. So I'm actually going to start selling this as a double pack because I think it's a really good one to kind of share with friends and whiskey clubs and decant for people to compare. It's a very, very interesting, experiment's the wrong word, but it's a very interesting kind of deep dive into a particular part of whiskey making processes. So before we go on to the conversation, which I'm going to edit slightly in terms of being able to put the various prices up for each one, and I will put chapters in the description notes so that you can jump straight away to wherever it is that you need to go to watch. So if you want to go, well, I just want to look at the peat smoke sherry, you can jump to that bit as we're talking about it. But I do recommend watching it just for kind of Keith's insights and thoughts about the industry and processes and peat particularly, you know, sourcing peat and everything like this, and barley. So before that, I'll give you a brief overview in terms of the Benromach Distillery itself, where Gordon and MacPhail come into the ownership and kind of what their expertise and history means to then produce the whiskey that they're producing now. And then we'll go straight into the conversation. So, as I say, the stock and also the packs, there are still some packs available, not many, all available through the website, www.spiritspecialist.com. UK nationwide delivery is available. Unfortunately, I don't have the capability to send outside of the UK yet. Still working on that. But first is the history about the distillery, and then we'll move straight into the conversation with Luke Todd-Wood, who is, I suppose, brand manager, brand ambassador, sales manager for not just Benromach, but also Gordon MacPhail, and Keith Cruickshank, the master distiller of Benromach Distillery. The Benromach Distillery is based in the small town of Forres, 12 miles west of Elgin. It was founded in 1898 by whisky entrepreneurs Duncan McCallan and F.W. Brickman, but had a checkered history to begin with until it was taken under the wing of the Distillers Company Limited, who would eventually become Diageo, in 1953. It was eventually mothballed and stripped of nearly all its equipment in 1983 during a downturn in the market, until it was purchased by Gordon and MacPhail in 1993. Gordon and MacPhail are often described as independent bottlers, but as opposed to those who purchase casks of already matured whisky to bottle under their own label, thanks to decades of relationships built up since the original grocery store in Elgin opened in 1895, G&M purchased new make spirit from a variety of distilleries to care for in their own hand-picked casks. That downturn in the mid-1980s forced the business to future-proof themselves from distilleries no longer willing to provide new make to them, and 5 years was spent revitalising the Benromach Distillery whilst using their extensive library of previous bottlings to determine that a smokiness in Speyside whiskies that was lost as malting houses became more centralised could be reintroduced to a market already more amenable to peated spirit. As a result, from August 1998, the Benromach Distillery produced spirit featuring a wisp of smoke through the use of a small amount of peated barley, with maturation taking place in only first fill bourbon and sherry casks. So yeah, basically, we've got that pack for the customers. To be honest, it was the contrast, the air dried and the kiln dried oak was the one that gave me the idea to do the tasting, because even just selfishly, I wanted to see what the difference was like between the two. So what I've done is I've put the 10-year-old in to start with, essentially as a baseline. Yeah. Then the air dried and kiln dried, and I think it's probably best if people that have got the packs, if they try and get two glasses and have those side by side. Rather than it kind of being one and then the other, because having already tried it myself, literally taking a little taste from each, it's fascinating to see the differences between the two. And the peat smokes, and then that single cask as well, which is an absolute beast. So the 10-year-old, which we've got as the baseline, obviously, you know, we've all talked about the 10-year-old as kind of that core bottling and everything like that. I did want to try and put something to bed, because I've had a few people basically since the rebrand. So I'll pop a picture up of what the old bottle looked like. And then we've got this is the new branding here. And, you know, at the time we were told that the liquid is unchanged, but I've had more than one person going, oh, it's definitely changed. You know, it's definitely different. And Keith, am I right in thinking that there has been a slight development from the early days, not necessarily the rebrand, but was there a progression in terms of the split between bourbon and sherry casks? Because I've got it in my head that it was that the proportions were more in favour of bourbon, but over the time it kind of became a bit more, maybe 50-50, maybe a bit more sherry influenced.
The initial mix was the full maturation would have been a higher proportion of bourbon than sherry. Mm-hmm. And then to get that typical marriage and the 10-year-old character, we then would have married them in sherry casks. Yep. And that's what we did. So there would have been a higher proportion. Subsequently, now that we have a lot more stocks of sherry casks, we're then now going to substitute and have just fast fill sherry, fast fill bourbon. It's actually a challenge that, if anything, the whiskey might have a little bit more of a sherry character than the bourbon character. So it's trying to get that mixture just right, rather than having it's a complicated way to do. But that was basically down to the stocks we had of bourbon and sherry, you know. And now we don't have to do that now. However, the 10-year-old you have now is not that yet. That won't come out until probably this year. Next year we'll have that stocks of. So I know it can be a common thing when you repackage that people think that the liquid has not changed. The packaging was absolutely a necessity, because as much as people, and I understand, love the old packaging, Ken, when you actually take the new package and put it next to it, you can see that the old packaging was kind of tired and there was add-ons all the time from an original concept. But it's like anything else, people got to love and enjoy that thing. But you can absolutely take it from, if the whiskey was going to be different, I'd be the first one to know. Trust me, I'd be the first one to moan, and with the packaging as well. Packaging is really what it should have been. Okay? We took out the Benromach in 2004, and we kind of did the whole design house thing and all that sort of stuff. Okay? And we went with, we thought was the way forward with the new Benromach bottling from the Gordon MacPhail era. However, now after, that was quite a few years, they had to go do a complete rebrand, because in brands, that's normally what you do. Have a complete. And they kind of went back to the basics with it. The colour, the white, the main white from the packaging. That's not just the bottle, that's actually on the carton as well. And you get the different tints for the different styles. The lettering, back old school lettering, that's what it was like when Gordon MacPhail did it as a proprietary bottling. When I started the distillery, when they had cream labels, and they had like a kind of brownie sequoia, pretty traditional. And the lettering was very, very similar. And the lettering of that was taken from the old pagoda roof on the distillery, the font from it. It's very clear, had the big B. And once you're on a shelf, all you could recognise was the B. And that's not really strong enough. It doesn't have a great, So having that, and it's very bold, but when you got the 10, the 15, then you start fading into the contrast and see how the subtleties and colours change there. There's some of them, like the air in the kiln dry, the packaging there is beautiful. It's fantastic. The organic, the packaging is absolutely lovely, Ken. And some of the colours and tints that they come out with, it's really, but you can see that it's, for me, it's what it should have been originally. It just took us maybe 15, 20 years to go through that. Like, that's just, that's how brands develop. In such like, but if you go into the visit centre and you see it in any retail, if they've got a good selection, it's fantastic. But unfortunately, people, in the past, some companies have probably changed the liquid, but we had absolutely no reason to change the liquid. The liquid's never changed. But moving forward, if anything, the whiskey will probably have to tame down the sherry character in it and still have that. Because the Ben 10 can't really change. You need consistency. It's a core product. It's the DNA of Benromach there, and then you've got the rest of them. So really, it's the baseline, as you just said, Ben. We can't change that with the lovely maltiness and the spiciness, and that quite bold smokiness as well, especially the addition of water. And that's typically what Benromach is about. That's the core flavours we're having that. So it's still my favourite, and I'll be quite honest with you. The 15 and the 40, they're fantastic whiskies. But the Ben 10 is the one. I don't know why. It's just something that makes me feel wholesome. It makes me feel it's really hard to describe. You guys know when you drink your own favourite dram, it's familiar. And the nose, I love it, just nosing it. You get that lovely sort of Ovaltine maltiness coming through. And that smokiness, the Ben 10 always gives you the smokiness, even in the nose. some of the Benromachs don't have that for whatever reason, age, type of cask, finish, just whatever, you know. But the Ben 10 always has that typical, and I always drink it with the water.
Yeah,
always. The reason for that, I want the smoke to come out, and the smokiness just comes out, and you know it's there.
Yeah,
it's 12 ppm standard.
Yeah,
you get 4. That means you get 4 in the spirit, and that's, you will notice that, you will taste that boldly. Yeah, but it's strange how the smokiness does so. In all the Benromach, they're all subtly different depending on. Yeah, the 15's a great example. You know, 21's a great example as well. Even like some of the whiskies we're going to go on to, the two Ale Kiln drying, the oak, the different, that they are typically Benromach spirit character. But it's amazing how I'm not going to be too whiskey going on to yet. the virgin oak, how that smokiness. And it really does affect the smokiness, and sherry affects the smokiness, and bourbon affects the smokiness in different ways, like, you know. So it's but typically the Benromach has that sort of, I always call it elegant smokiness. It's not screaming at you, it's not really, you know, full on, though we're gonna go at some of Peat smokes which are slightly they're gonna give you a wee bit of kick, that is for sure, like, again. So but yeah, the 10 for me is just the it's such a familiar, it just makes me feel, you know, warm inside always, you know.
Yeah. And the peat itself is Highland peat, yeah?
You know this. You know, do you want me to tell you the truth, or do you want me to tell you what Mark would probably tell you, like, you know?
Well, the truth would be nice. It would make a bloody change.
Yes. Yeah, people say you get inland peat and you get coastal peat and such. Like, peat is just, it's such a complex fossilized vegetation, so it is, you know. You're burning dirt, really, you know. But it's very, very complex where you get it from, how wet it is, different parts of the peat bog and such. Like, the maltsters are they don't really tell you too much of where they get the peat from.
Yeah.
It's separate kind of, they sort of they don't manage, people who manage the peat bogs, and they are. I mean, there's a big push for sustainability and such. Like, you know, it's all about with the peat bogs. It's more about being sustainable with it, as in making sure you don't take out too much, and you're not. And to be honest with you, the whiskey industry, they take out a fraction of the peat. The big problem is gardens. That's where the majority comes. It's fully sustainable. For the amount we take out. However, it's like anything else. We're burning something that's a fossil fuel. It's the same thing as oil and gas. We're taking it from them and using it as a resource. You know, we have to make sure we efficiently do that. So the main thing is not so much where the peat and how much you take out, is burn it efficiently. How much you use to get a ppm. That's the clever thing. And the less you use, same as having efficient boilers. Same idea. That's what we need to do, and that's the push for us to make sure the maltsters are then checking on the people who are doing. So you've got this whole, like anything else, you know, traceability all the way back.
Yeah.
And I'm on the SWA Peat working group. So really, it's and that's something I haven't had my first meeting yet, but I'm getting, So anyway, that's all that is going to be about. Complete sustainability of it, you know. But it's we are very conscious of that, and that type of questions get asked more and more. Anyway, what was the original question about?
You said you've not had a meeting yet, but I've now just got this mental image of you like just bursting through the doors and going, right, lads, sort this out.
Luckily, we only use, like, again, it's lightly peated, the 12. Where some of the big guys are knocking out 50, 60 people regular, you know, to get the beautiful character they want, like, and so. But yes, it is, the people use this from the northeast of Scotland. Most of the dogs are from the northeast of Scotland, because there's some good peat area up there. But some used to be from Tomintoul, some used to be towards the Fraserburgh, Newport Sligo, that area there. So because they've got some good peat bogs there, it's where the peat bogs all are. Sometimes the peat bogs change them because it's not burning well enough, it's too wet, whatever, it's too dry, it flames off. You know, it's too wet, you don't get the same. It's smoke you want, it's reek you want. You want flames. Flames are not good. No, it's that reek we want, like, it's one of that ones, you know. Mile they speak about, it's highly, and it's not, you know, can highly distillers take that peated malt from malts in the northeast of Scotland, you know. So it kind of knocks the myth a little bit, like, again. So I think it's more to do of what they do at the distillery that gives them that specific unique character. It's how they process it, and that is absolutely, Ardbeg is such a beautiful whiskey, but wow, Ardbeg and Lafroig are like two different whiskies. You can taste them both now. The sweetness and that lovely kind of, it's hard to describe Lafroig, like it's kind of a deep, oily, fishy brininess in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
So they can be used in the same malt.
Yeah.
They can be used in the same, but roughly the same, 50, whatever it is, they're all quite high. But the whiskies are so different. And it's what the guys do, team does, at the distilling equipment they've got. It's such a new mix, but that's what makes it so different. Every distillery, it's just how they do it, and especially the equipment they have. That quirky wee things. It's great to have the iconic whiskies, because the iconic whiskies really do quirky. Your Rose Blancs, and your Spring Blancs, and these type of distilleries, Benromach, Malt. These are all very iconic distilleries that produce Lafroig. Ardbeg. You can taste every one. I'm naming up whiskies. You can taste them. You know the uniqueness, because they're very iconic for a reason. They make whiskey in a very specific way that maybe is a little bit quirky or whatever. You know?
Yeah.
But yes, we use Highland.
Yep.
The peat bogs are from we call it Highland, but it's not really Highland, it's the northeast of Scotland again.
Yeah.
So it's more rural Buchan area, to be quite honest with you. But malts, they do change it from time to time quite a bit. But yeah, it's very complex how you get the flavours from into the peatness into the barrel. Very complex indeed, and it's a skill of a person probably working the kiln, how they keep that kiln burning, and how much moisture they put in, and it's very skilled. It's very skilled indeed, even though it doesn't look to be too skilled, it does look. It's like a craft, artisan craft. That's that extent. And so, but yes, ours is from
northeast. Even though you've just said it's basically burning dirt, it is a lot more complex than that.
Tourbillon, they call it French. Tourbillon. It's like dirt. So they call it peat. It's called dirt in France. You want to describe peat and malt. Tourbillon, they call it, which is dirt. So like, check that.
That would probably explain, because there's the Roseliers.
Roselier, they've got the Tourbillon, haven't they? Yeah. Which is their peated version.
Yeah. Exactly that.
Okay, so let's look at the two contrasts and let's kind of like look at them together. So virgin oak cask matured. One of them is air dried oak. The other one is kiln dried oak. So the contrast of there we go. So the contrast have allowed you and the team to kind of like play around with, because we had the triple distilled at one point. There's you did a Polish oak one recently, and bits and pieces like that. So what's
which is the wood,
So this is obviously quite a specific. I mean, this is the sort of thing. This is why I love it, is because it comes across that it's taking one little part of the entire production and going, what happens if we change these two bits, which might not seem particularly major. It's not like you did Cara Gold, which was a different type of barley and that sort of thing. It's not even like you do different types of casks. It's how you're drying the oak. So what was the thinking behind kind of, how did this even come about?
Over the years, because we were such a small distillery, I think the whole mindset from my original managing director, which is Ian Nackett, and then Ewan McIntosh, so he's a managing director now. We had the freedom just to do whatever came along or what we thought. And sometimes we're presented to us by speaking to malt stars, by speaking to cooperages, so this one came. And normally we would ask the maltster, is there anything interesting? Do you think there's anything interesting? And sometimes we'll never become commercially available because they're not interested enough, they're just too out there. This was what we've done, triple distilled, we've done the caramel and the Polish show, which is fantastic. These are all such limited. Most of them were done once. The triple distilled was the one that was repeated. Anyway, this too was done in 2000. I actually forgot we did them. We did them in 2010, was it?
12 it says on the label.
12 we did them. Because we did them just after the Pole show. So we did these two. So we spoke to Speyside Cooperage and we said, is there anything interesting you have? And they said, well, what about, we've got some oak staves here, and we've got some that are traditionally 3 years dried in the air, which is normal, and they've got another batch which were 2 years air dried and then forced dried with kiln. I say forced dried with kiln, you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
Right. And we said, okay, and we know that the wood is very important. It contributes quite a bit in us, but it's a specific way. Because we thought, well, if we try this as American Virgin Oak, then really the only thing that's changing will be the drying of the oak.
Yeah.
We knew that it might not be, there might not be enough difference between the two whiskies. It's more of a question, and this is a good way of doing it then, is you do this tasting as together, two of them together, because that's why we did it. That's exactly why we did it, because the differences could be subtle and are subtle, and you can see that in them. Yeah. So the air dried is 3 years air dried. And normally the air drying is a slower process, okay, and that normally should allow a lot more of the wood sugars to develop and such like. The kiln dries it quicker after 2 years, and force dries it to a certain extent, so you get less of that development. One's not better than the other; they're just different. So we did it in 2012, and we filled it. They were barrels. And we filled them, they were made with American Virgin Oak, filled them with standard Benromach, and that's 12 ppm Benromach. Okay.
So basically what would have been 10-year-old anyway.
Yeah. That's the first thing that sticks out there. If you notice the 10-year-old, that the smokiness is not...
No. Nowhere near.
Nowhere near. But why is that? Why would that? Why would that? They're American Virgin Oak, it's not as aggressive as what the sherry cask should be, because they're quite overpowering that character. However, it's fast. It's Virgin Oak, so you're getting a lot of that influence from that, and it's probably that has been battling with the the peatiness.
Yeah,
and it's that that's coming through more and more. So. I think the first one's air dried. Typically, you get that. You get the honey, and you get that sort of coconut coming through there.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of fresh fruitiness in there as well.
Yeah. There's mint coming through for me as well.
What's that, Ben?
Slight kind of menthol element as well.
Yeah.
It just feels ever so slightly fresher than the kiln dried.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more kind of pencil shavings, that kind of fresh sort of woodiness coming through and stuff like that from the kiln dry.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably more what I would expect from our organic whiskey, which is the only other one that we do is American Virgin Oak.
Yes, yeah. But completely unpeated as well, wasn't it? Yeah.
But the amazing thing for me is how the cask reacts with the peat. That really is interesting for me, and with the Benromach, especially the sherry against the bourbon and the American Virgin Oak.
Yeah,
they're peated and now the peated, because that is really knocked the peated off quite a bit there. even with them, you can slightly add a touch of water in there, just to see if that kind of helps along with it. But it's.
I might have to sell them as a double pack, because I think it's. Somebody was asking me about them, and he was like, "Oh, you know, which one's better, and which one do you think I'd like?" And I was like, honestly, this is a.
Yeah,
they're both really good, but this is a flavor experiment. This is changing one little aspect and seeing how it changes.
The mintiness is very noticeable in the air dried. Yeah,
yeah, very much.
You're right. The typical American virgin notes coming through with the kiln dried.
Yeah,
it's very subtle. They are, you know, they are.
The air dried feels slightly lighter, slightly fresher. Kiln dried feels slightly, and that it may even be subconscious going, oh well, it's kiln dried, so it's going to be a bit like slightly warmer, slightly creamier, and it's not massively different, but it is there.
Interesting to do a blind tasting on it, but it's
yeah, actually doing a blind and saying, right, you've got this is air, this is kiln, which is which.
So much,
and there's that real sweetness and that sharp sort of spiciness as well coming through.
But you still retain that Benromach character all the way through. It's not doing anything particularly drastic, but it's yeah.
Historically, still quite a fruity.
They're both quite sweet as well. There is a sweetness. That's got honey coming through, coconut coming through. There is more. There's probably a little bit more complexity in the air dried than the kiln dried. But there's a lot more fruitiness coming through there. There's a little bit of chocolate as well coming through there. But the mintiness, you're absolutely right, Ben. You've hit that right on there. Yeah. But it's very subtle. And it just shows you that type of, you can call it an experiment, but we did it because we thought it was interesting, wasn't it, really, the experiment?
Yeah.
And I absolutely forgot about it. And every other year we go and look back to stocks, because there's a lot of stuff we did that I did with the previous manager and then with Ewan, and even now, you know, Stuart, the operations director, is coming back and asking me, what is that you did there? And I'm thinking, well, just give my 20 minutes to think and remember what we did. In the end, I killed it. I know we did it, but I completely forgot what we actually did and the complexities of it, you know, because it was, you know, same with Polo Show, we did it such a long time ago, you know. Just remembering
I think that's great. I mean, you've got such a variety of whiskey, you know, consumers and stuff out there, but I think this is a real nice little, as you said, I didn't want to call it an experiment, but a real nice little of a compare and contrast with a real subtle change and stuff like that. One very small change in a very, very complex process has created two very, very different whiskies, and you get that on the nose immediately and stuff like that. You can got into the sort of palate and finish. You can see there's that sort of difference sort of straight off. So it's
nice to have the two. You know, as I said, this is a one-off bid. We didn't do it again. Yeah, and I guess that's what we should do. You know, it's a learning curve for us as well. But it's that question. We'll just put the question out. You know, because a lot of work is done on flavour development and how it changes through the Scottish Whisky Research Institute and the rest of the way and such, like, you know. But only if you do it on real time. You can't force maturation. Within a week, or there's lots of experiments you can't do, of course, but you time's there for a reason, you know. And now, like, having this sort of it's great because you can compare them together as one. You're right. It's best to compare them as one, because that's what the question was. It's a question we're putting out there. What do you think of these two together?
Yes. And it's not like it's we did this air dried 10 years ago, but we've got a kiln dried that we've just put on and we've bottled it together. It's you've got same age of the whole lot.
Not sure how much sense that would have made, really.
No. Yeah.
Probably none. We wouldn't have, at least now they're both exactly the same age. Both, but they're both American white oak, virgin oak. However, the drying process was different.
Yeah.
And we want to see if that's making. It just shows you that it's taken a length of time to have that subtleties to come through. I don't think we really sampled too much over the years to see. I guess it's one of the ones I have to admit, with my hands, it's one of the ones we just kind of did and kind of forgot about. Just mouse and just left it. And 12 years later, you go back and think,
yeah, it's a belter. I love both of them. And I love both of them side by side as well.
But there were, again, two whiskies, but what I find fascinating about these two as well is they keep on evolving within the glass. So 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, there's lots more sort of subtle changes happening between the two.
Going back to
finding the kiln dried is retaining that spicier characteristic now.
It's you've got more of that kind of like oaky, like dry oak coming through.
Pencil shavings,
and the air dried seems to retain a bit more of that minty note. Still, even now, but as it's softening as well. Absolutely fascinating. It really is.
Love the whiskies. Very enjoyable, very smooth. The air is it's delicious. Absolutely delicious. And the American virgin oak is Benromach works really well. And when we first did American virgin oak for the organic, because it is, there was always a criticism, you'll never be able to mature that longer than 5 years. It's virgin oak, it's just better, organic, stringent, whatever you want to call it, It's not. It's not. If anything, I know we're not tasting the organic tonight, but for me, the organic has improved with age.
Yeah,
it's soft, and there's been a lot more complex flavours coming through because it's a 9-year-old whiskey now. It wasn't initially. The organic was a little bit younger than that, and you got more of that typical kiln dried flavour that you're tasting tonight. Very so. But as the organic got older, just through sort of natural progression, as I call it. It's just got better. Fantastic whiskey, the organic, and it's not stringent, it's not bitter, it's full of flavour, it's lovely and rich, and it's smooth, And we have, we've got I always say too much at these tastings because I do, that you get we have got older stocks of organic. We started the organic back in 2000. October 2000, then did another batch in April 2001. So we have, I would imagine we might have stocks that are pretty old.
So, I mean, Ben, you'll know this yourself, but organics was one of those fascinating ones that at whiskey festivals when you're doing shows and things like that. That ultimately, the mix of consumers that are out there in the market. There are people that like peated whiskies. There are people that don't like them. So often, you do get people that come up. Is it all peated? And you can direct them to something that that isn't. And the reactions stuff that you get on people's faces, that wonderful sweetness and stuff that comes through, that almost like kind of like little butterscotch note and stuff, that nice sweet vanilla, and there's so much that happens with it. And as you said, sort of very smooth and easy drinking whiskey. And it's a really great drum.
We did the organic back 2000 with myself, and was my manager at the time, started it, and I did it first batch in October 2000. Started only been like 6 months in the manager's role, but we did the first batch of organic with Ian Urquhart, managing director. And again, that's pretty much we started that similar to the air and the kiln dried, similar to the rest of contrast. We didn't really know. I mean, UK food and drink, organic food and drink, was so small back then. The market was, and single malt was not really done, fully certified by the Soil Association. So we did it, and then we kind of got better at it every year. The availability of organic malt became more available. the first few batches just horrendous stuff. Made beautiful whiskey, but just not enough of it. Yeah, just the barley was just not great, because the farmer had sort of fewer choices, and they didn't really understand completely how to manage it that they do now, So, the batches back then were great whiskey, but just yields were really poor. But as time went on, it got better and better and better. Now, the organic isn't too far off start. It is a little bit behind on yield. Depending on the harvest, if it's a really dry year, where quids in with the organic can handle it. Northeast of Scotland, especially in Murrayshire, very thin soil, doesn't like dry growing seasons, doesn't like it because it wants. But if you have a really dry summer with heavier soil, contains water, keeps the water, and if you get a really dry summer, put the nitrogen on, and then the rain comes late or whatever, it just sucks all the nitrogen straight to the head, and you get high nitrogen, less too much protein, then enough starch. Your yields are less. Yeah. Still much crack in whiskey. You just get less of it. A little bit different to the grape. It's completely dependent on, terroir. It will affect the quality of the. But with whiskey, it doesn't. We just get less of it. Poor harvest. We have to buy from Europe, where looking down the barrel of French gun. That type of thing. I shouldn't really say that, should I? But you know what I mean? Luckily, the harvests have been pretty good for many, many years. So Scotland's self-sufficient for the distillery industry.
Yeah.
So what was this been right again? I keep forgetting. I do it all the time. And I'm thinking, what's the original question, Ben?
I can't remember. Okay, so let's look at the peat smoke, and I suppose we can probably do these two at the same time as well. So I can remember the first time we had the peat smoke sherry, and it was cask strength, and it was absolutely amazing. So peat smoke's been going on for quite a while, and is now in that kind of contrast range. So the first one, the peat smoke, is heavily peated barley, first fill bourbon barrels, 55 ppm, it says on the label, aged 9 years in oak casks. And then the sherry finished is 57 ppm, slightly younger at 8 years. And this is finished in first fill sherry hogsheads. So I'm assuming that we've got bourbon initially. And then sherry.
We did batches. Every time we do heavily peated, traditionally it was always in bourbon. A few years we actually got a bit brave and filled them full maturation in sherry casks. Again, it's not completely unheard of, but it's not too common in the industry. It's always bourbon, heavily peated. Why, I don't know. But that's changed slightly with a lot of producers. It's a Gordon Fail being one especially. They did some Kalila in sherry cask. Oh me, what a whiskey! Wonderful. Anyway, back to Benromach. The first one we did was 51 ppm. So sweet. This was back in 2005. It really was not 51, but it was sweet, and it was not at that level. We were criticised we weren't getting enough through. It wasn't heavy enough. Didn't have no iodine that type. We didn't want that. We wanted Speyside heavily peated whiskey. Quite bizarre, that concept. Then it was very bizarre. Nobody's doing it. There has been subsequently others in Speyside that do with these unique little batches, but Benromach's probably the only one that has peated as a standard 12 ppm as a Speyside. The rest will definitely peat, but not will be batches. So the peat smoke we've had since 2005, and we basically got the malt stuff. We do one batch a year. Normally, about 30 tons. Some years we did two, but normally about one batch. And it varies. We've had 51s, We've had 37s, 43s. We normally like to ask to be above 40, but we've had some lower batches, and we've had some big beastie ones as well, like Ken's. We've had 67 was the highest. However, this two beauties of this two beauties like the 55, especially 55.
Yeah.
Wow, they really are punching with the phenols coming through. I've never seen Benromach actually have that level coming through. There's still a bit of sweetness, but it's really bold. The phenol characters come through compared to what it used to be. It's something that we can't really control because it's done in an annual batch, and it's that uniqueness. We do get the heavily peated from one specific maltster.
Yeah.
Again, they could be buying their Highland peat from maybe not in Highland. It's that type of thing, and it can be burning different on the day, and it's just so unique. And we're doing it we're not blending it, so we get it as a blending. It's normally yes, we get it as a batch. So this one 55 ppm is
the difference on this one and stuff. I mean, there'll be people and stuff like that. I mean, we'll just do it from a colour perspective and things like that for people and stuff like that for seeing. But the 55, the previous one that we had was that you came up was 35. So it was interesting because I mean I started sort of 6.5 years ago and stuff like that, and I've seen it sort of start off quite high. I think it just finished the sort of 60s and stuff like that when I first started. Progressively has kind of moved down.
63, 67.
Highest. And moved down over that point. So the last one being at 35, and there was a really interesting change at that point because the smokiness and stuff like that, and that peat is so prevalent and stuff on the 55. It gave more, that classic more vanilla and more lemon, citrus and stuff. And the last one was very, very led by that, and the smokiness almost as an afterthought. It's like quite a slow build. Whereas this, on the other hand, and stuff like that, is just a lot more.
On the nose, it's really punchy in the nose, but it's not as punchy in the palate as it is in the nose.
No,
it has got a real West Coast accent coming through on the nose.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have that punchiness on the palate.
Yeah, there's a slight coastal note to it.
A little bit.
Yeah, almost like kind of like not quite oysters, but something that's got like lemon juice on it as well, because there's a bit of a citrusy, but there's I don't know, almost like kind of salmon on a bonfire or something like that.
Yeah. I like that with salmon on a bonfire. But it's definitely, I remember when we took this, when the bottling came out, because I know every year we do 40, 43, and I just, the bottles come out, and the only thing it changes for me is the ppm in it,
Yeah.
But this one, and I think the peat smoke has been very kind of consistent in its style.
Yeah.
But this one's the first one that really kind of shouted slightly different than the rest.
Yeah.
Especially the nose, when I'd smell it like that, but oh me, that's a bit of a punchy one, that, So we kind of didn't want that medicinal. I don't care if we do. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It will happen. But it's very bold, that one there. And even the next one, which is the sherry peat smoke, exactly the same there. There's a little fight going on there to a certain extent. It's like two brothers in the living room, boxing gloves, having a little bit of punch up on a Saturday night, and parents are just watching it. It's a bit of fun. One's called sherry, one's called peat.
Yeah, it's interesting going to the sherry straight away from the bourbon, in that I get it's not quite wet cardboard, but you get that punch, but there's something else kind of behind it that I think must be that sherry influence of bringing, whether it's kind of like a nuttiness or something through there, but you still get that thwack of the smoke coming through as well.
It's that, the two come together, as you said, you've got that citrus vanilla note coming through in the traditional sherry cask, and then you've got that, you will get that nuttiness coming through, everything coming through. And it's how they fight together, and sometimes they can come together and create a different flavour. Sometimes you just get this complexity. I can taste that, and I can taste this. It's neither or. you know. And I guess that's the key thing. You spoke about the original one. The original was too sherry for me. I didn't have enough smoking. Beautiful whiskey.
Yeah.
Strength, boom, and it was matured, wholly in sherry cask.
Yeah.
Peated, you know. But I was wanting more of this. However, you know, that one, there's a little battle going on there between the sherry and the peat. Whereas the original one, you didn't have that same kind of battle, though it was too... It was too sherry for me. There wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Battle.
It was very rich, and I think that was what was such a driver for consumers at the time and stuff like that, because we got these wonderful combinations of bourbon and sherry cask, and occasionally distillery exclusives of single cask sherry, and all of a sudden this one came out and stuff like that. You know, nice, really, you know, heavily sherry, cask strength. I mean, a real box ticker for many consumers.
God, yeah. And it was like 50 quid or something stupid like that as well. It was so cheap. It was ridiculous.
The price was great.
I think we do have stocks. Yeah. That we do, you know, I always say it doesn't matter. But that gives secrets away. But yeah, every time we do heavily peated, which will come out of batch one up, so usually end of the year, we'll fill bourbon, we'll fill a few sherries as well. Yeah. It's just trying to keep up with the demand of that, you know. So for me, probably a little bit longer in the sherry cask for the finish here. You call it finish, but it's a little bit longer than it.
How long was it in the sherry cask?
Probably a year, 2 years, somewhere in the car.
Okay, right, yeah.
Maybe a little bit longer for me, I would think, just to maybe give a little bit of sherry a little bit more time to battle that, because especially with that level of phenols coming, I think that's how every time you get the sherry peat smoke, it's going to be a different battle going on. So you know what I mean? But you know, with a 35, you're going to get a different product.
Definitely,
because this is a really punchy peat smoke.
The ppm on this was higher than the last one.
Really punchy, you know, and it's coming through the whiskey, you know, but it's 46. It's not your fault. It's what's not like it, you know. Again, but hopefully we'll get back to some of the strength as well, time to time, you know. But it's a punchy one, that's for sure.
Definitely, yeah. But it's actually quite nice to be able to have the two different versions of it as well, to kind of to go, you know, that slightly different route, you know, touch of sweetness, that sort of thing. Because you know, sherry casks and everything, you know, it seems to be a more popular sort of flavor profile with having that sweetness. So to be able to offer it with that little twist. And again, side by side, it's really interesting to kind of try the two side by side and see what that sherry element does. So, okay, it's not identical, but it's certainly, as you say, they've both got that punch. So it's very interesting to see what the sherry does to it.
It's very popular. It sells out. We can supply and demand. We just can't keep up with what. And you know, as well have that, but we just kind of know that because it's essentially a finish. You know, we can keep that sustainable, that product coming through, rather than full maturation. We've only got so much of them, and then you know, you can have these ready in 2-3 years if you want. The full maturation, you got to wait 10 years. That to come through with Ken, but we do have stocks like Ken, but it's just, you know.
No, again, I mean, I think from as we were talking earlier, I mean, in terms of the sort of packaging sort of strengths, and you know, again, you know, really nice color and stuff in comparison and stuff like that. So into the gold.
If I put the two side by side, it's sort of one of those that, you know, certain people are instantly going to go for that. Before even looking at anything else, they're going to go, "Oh yeah, that's a proper color type thing."
Yeah.
Without tasting the product, obviously, you know.
Of course, yeah. That's it. It's irrelevant.
It's just one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the nature of the beast, really.
Okay, so let's finish off with the beast. So this is a UK exclusive single cask. Distilled 20th of May 2013, bottled 22nd of May 2023. First fill, sherry hogshead at 59.9%. 311 bottles. and this is an absolute barnstormer. So do you have a hand in these, Keith? Is this something that you're kind of like just picking individual casks out, going, really, that's really good, or is it somebody else?
It's something I don't really get involved in too much.
Okay. Yeah. So is this somebody like Stuart Urquhart or the tasting team or something like that?
Yeah. The whole team, the Spirit Supply team will. And we sample quite a lot as well, send like to customers and get their opinions in bottle for whatever. The good thing is I know that all the whiskey's going to be fantastic. Just some are more fantastic than others. That's all. But yeah, our single cask offering has they've really come on leaps and bounds in the last couple of years, to be quite honest with you. Especially with the offering of sherry casks and such like that is one of our fastball sherry hogsheads cask, which is typical of what we're filling back in 2013 onwards. We have these stocks of these lovely whiskies, and that's typical of the colour. It's just absolutely
the colour's phenomenal.
Radiant, however, the character, it is so rich on the nose.
Yeah. Again, mint coming through again for me.
Yeah.
Mint again.
Yeah. But then like super concentrated dark fruits as well.
Yeah. It's kind of got amazing. It's kind of got a dark chocolate coming through there.
Yeah.
The smokiness is tame.
Yeah.
Very tame. Though 59.9, it probably will be. It's whimpering in the background there a little bit. Give it some water, it probably will.
Yeah. I'm going to put a little drop in.
59.9. It's quite.
Having said that, taking a sip of it neat. There's an amazing texture to it.
Yeah, it's not. Some cask strength to go down kicking and screaming all the way.
Yeah.
But some of them, you'll always get that pain. You have a cask strength whiskey, you'll feel in your nose, and it's pain you're feeling. Actually, it's pain you're actually feeling there.
And it's got that chewiness. That's what
I
really love about it. It's that real sweet spot. And I think, like we were saying earlier about the original there when we did the cask strength and stuff like that on the peat smoke sherry that we were talking about a few minutes ago. On this one, it's got that same sort of intensity and stuff like that.
Absolutely,
rich flavour, that real powerful song, but a real chewy, heavy mouthfeel.
Yeah.
It's a real treat now.
And water really brings the smoke back out as well.
Yeah.
It really does. Brings it on the nose.
You can just get the smokiness. I haven't added water to mine yet. It's just it's as if the smokiness has been been quietened. It's as if it's been tamed, really,
Yeah.
But as you say, once you add the water, I really didn't want to add water because I'm enjoying it without water, but I'll add a little bit of water.
Well, it's one of those good cask strength whiskies that actually it almost doesn't matter which way you drink it. It's fantastic neat. It changes, but it still drinks really well. Sometimes you can have a cask strength where you put some water in it and it's like, shouldn't have done that. Whereas with this, do what you want with it because it's going to be really, really good either way. Oh God, that weight neat is just incredible.
Yeah, as you said, that sort of caramel, those darker chocolate notes. There's just loads going on with that.
Yeah, that is in an evening. Don't need a lot in the glass, but you can spend about an hour on that if needs be.
Yeah, you get the smokiness now. And I love these kind of got a lovely kind of bonfire amber kind of finish. I'm feeling it now. That smokiness coming through.
Yeah.
Where I was struggling to get it for a start, I was having to push it with water to get it to come out. But now it's there.
And it's interesting with the peat smoke, particularly the bourbon. It had that slight coastal note whereas this feels more, as you've said, bonfirey.
Yeah.
That there's less of the slightly marine edge that the peat smoke had. This is much more of a darker smokiness.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's an absolute monster. I love it. It's so good.
That's very typical. The sherry casks we use, that's pretty typical of what we get from them. So yeah, great for single casks. Same as the bourbon, you know. I think there's more and more. I think part of our business, the single cask offering seems to be something that is on up all the time. There's such a demand for these single casks, and we're struggling to kind of keep up with demand for these single casks.
Yeah.
We kind of balance that with our stocks.
Yeah.
Because we still have the 10, the 15.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily we did increase production in 2013, so we have, and we've done that right through to 3 increase of production, you know.
But there's always some, cracking distillery only releases and stuff for single casks, and a real draw for people to visit the distillery and come and see Benromach.
We've been doing some distillery exclusives for a few years now, and mainly bourbon for a start, and then one sherry one in there. We've got one coming out next week, which I did want to take down this weekend, but obviously it wasn't ready. It's coming out next week, which is an absolute belter. It's such a cracking whiskey and so unique in its character. It's such and it's American badge, you know.
Yeah.
But it was a very special batch we did back in. I think I can really tell everybody it's 2004. If you come to the distillery, you can only buy the distillery. So you can't really, but yeah. So it's coming out next week. And it's going to be an absolute crack. And quite an old whiskey as well, so 2004.
Mm-hmm.
So, but unique. It's American, as you know, can probably all can say, but it's a cracking whiskey.
Phone me next week and I'll tell you.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Cheers for that.
Yeah, and it's great we can do that type of thing. Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
But it's a special batch we did in 2000. Yeah.
And you might not be able to remember, because obviously you'd forgotten about these ones. But is there potential for anything similar to the Kiln and air dried, where it's something where it's a bit of a
probably not
them? Yeah,
a kind of one-off for that one.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, which I forget a lot of things anyway. Can't think of what we did. It's very difficult because the easy thing is to do tasks.
Yeah,
that's the easiest thing. Doing it on production is difficult. Triple Distill was probably the only thing we did. The process.
Yeah.
Process was completely different the way we did it to give us the triple distillation, using the wash still once and the spirit still twice to get that intermediate and then spirit distillation. So it was very unique, but nothing really. I'd have to look back at records about it, but I think the cask, that was there's one more in the cask. There's one more, which was the wood we might take out similar, but we'd have to compare that with that standard.
Yeah,
and of how the wood was charred a different way. Shouldn't have. Yeah, we have one more bit.
Yeah,
we have. Yeah. But it's not like we didn't do very often. It's just, when it was that freedom, I guess, that we had. We weren't kind of restricted. You can't do that, or you must do this.
Yeah.
That we had, which was great. Ian Ackett would come up with ideas, Ewan would, I would, and we just try different things. And we lay these batches down and then forget about it. Because back then, we weren't so computerized as we are. So now, a lot was quite, and some of it was just the details in my head. Okay, so I'm always being encouraged to kind of document as much as I can.
Yeah.
But it's difficult sometimes. We just emerge when I'm retired and think, oh Jesus, what did he do then? Yeah, but yeah, I mean that's great. I mean, it's a freedom. I think every distiller should be allowed to do that, and I guess some are. I mean, the sort of explosion of craft distillers, has been recently. When I say recently, I say the last 10 years, compared to the small club that Benromach was in 1998, which is a very small club. We were alone, nobody else, but Billy no mates, apart from Ed Rodower, and the Big Line Turret. There's nobody of that kind of craft size, as we call it. Yeah. They used to call us boutique, but I hated that word, boutique. Boutique. We used to call ourselves the smallest distillery in Speyside, and we kind of marketed that, but that kind of didn't hold any purpose. Being the smallest, being the biggest, being the tallest, being the fastest. It's always somebody that's going to come on that's being smaller, or faster, or bigger, or whatever. So that kind of dropped, and then it was Benromach style, the way we did it, the handcrafted, the people, everything. That's what it was on. It still is. But we were in a very small club back then. Aaron was another one as well. Aaron started 2 years before us. Very similar size. They now have 2 distilleries. We have 2 distilleries, obviously, as a company. But there was nobody else. And then, because it's great to see, because all these distillers, like Harris Distillers and Bicky Distillers and Watford Distillers, a lot of them came to the Benromach to actually get an idea of the challenges and the sort of the benefits you can have of being a small distiller.
Yeah.
And the Harris Distillers came to us, and I'm great friends with them. And none of them were ever distillers. Not a clue. They were just absolutely going in blind, and I'm thinking, oh my God. Going in blind, and one was an electrician, one was a construction manager, one was this. They came in for a week. Great guys, just wanted to learn how to make whiskey. The idea then was to make whiskey. But unfortunately, they decided to make a little bit of gin, which everybody loves. So they make probably more gin than not enough whiskey than they wanted to get anyway. Great, and we're still in touch with the heart and thoughts, And they started up, and our Bicky was the same. Then when Casted Black came and such like Watford Distillery, so they kind of used Benromach as a sounding board, and we were always more than happy to be able to pass on whatever experiences we had of starting a small distillery of that size, the challenges and so on, opportunities, let's say. However, the thing is, we started a long time before then. So 2009, we had a 10-year-old. Now we've got stock of up to 25 years. It's as if the distillery has never been closed. Whereas the difficult side with young distilleries is they have to wait. Yeah. So owners, shareholders, whoever owns it, have to either have very deep pockets, be very understanding, or they produce white spirits, which in truth is there just to generate revenue and make lovely white spirits as well. But Harris is a great one. They make a fantastic gin.
Yeah.
Because the whiskey's out later this month.
It's 2nd of October. I've got a very small allocation. I was quite surprised to be told that I was going to get an allocation of it, but I've got a very, very small allocation because I've got the gin on the shelf. So quite looking forward. I'm sure it's 2nd of October. It's due.
It's great to see American Isle of Skye and Rassy and something going out, and Wolfburn. I remember when it started. I remember when the manager went up there. Shane, he's one of those waffles. Ballindalla Distillery. I remember when the team when it started. Now they've got the first bottles at the distillery now. It's great to see that, and they're producing fantastic whiskey. It's all about the craft as well, because they are all great, and I think that's great. I think that's how whiskey should be made, you know, and it is being made like that. And I think there's always room for both of the bigger distilleries, the bigger brands, the automation. There's nothing wrong with that. Perfect. They're making fantastic whiskey. They're just doing it a different way.
Yeah.
But our sister distillery, Grant and Kiln, could not be any more different than Benromach in every way.
Yeah.
You know, different style of whiskey, different types of casks to mature them in. Ours is peated there, some peaters is handmade, computerized, theirs is fully automated, all the heat recovery systems in the world. However, they're still making fantastic whiskey. It doesn't mean it's not a poor product. It's made differently. It's still in the 21st century, and that's the way it should be made in that, you know. And it's great to have these two comparisons. You couldn't get any more different. And I think it's a bold decision.
Yeah.
Distillery, pagoda roofs and everything there, you know. Worm tubs, a lot, and all the rest of it. However, we've got a distillery like that. We've got a very traditional classic Speyside distillery, and that's Benromach.
Yeah.
We change our way in marrying and team, they do things their way to produce their fantastic spirit. We produce our fantastic spirit, and that's the way the whiskey industry should be. You know, it's, you know, the whiskey industry is too big for every distillery to be able to produce it the way Benromach and Alec and Harris and Isle of Skye distillers, Storvig, and Rassy in these places. The industry is too big for that, you know. Most of the whiskey industry is blended whiskey. Of course it is. Most of the bulk sales go to blended whiskey, and that's the truth. So malt is kind of fighting this corner. But yeah, it's great to see these young distillers coming through and producing fantastic. And we're going to see more of that. A lot of them are still relatively young now, so they're getting product now and they're all excited and it's great and it's fantastic. And I'm like, I remember that. I remember that when we started bottling in 2004, and then we took out the organic, and then we took out the peat smoke, and then we took out some contrasts, which we had a different name for, which I can't remember what it was called again. And then we had 2009, which, and then after that, we just, you know. But I think now the brand's kind of coming of age. Once we had the 21, I think, kind of came of age then. When we had 10, 15, the Astra, and the 21. Everything above that and in between that is there just to support the brand. And that's it coming of age. And now, you know, you can see the whiskies coming out compared to, 5-10 years ago. Yeah. There's got a more depth. You've just got to wait for these whiskies to come through. It's time. You just can't magic it. It doesn't happen. You've just to wait. And that's what's fantastic. I mean, I lose track of some of the bottles they come out with. You know, I mean, they put some of these fancy wine casks, you know, and then we didn't really do too much wine finishes, but we have done, you know. And some of the wine finishes we do are great. Some are not so great. And it's wine, and that's the nature of wine finishes.
Yeah.
Some work, some don't work, you know. Benromach's fantastic without the need of wine finish there, to be quite honest with you, you know. But we do, because it's interesting, and it can really give Benromach a different edge to it and a different complexity. And sometimes we do it, it doesn't enhance the marriage back. And we have done that before. We've done some that have been absolutely fantastic, you know. But that's the nature of the wine finish as well. Like, some people think we shouldn't do wine finishes. Yeah. You know, it's narrative, it's not right. You know. But everybody's got an opinion on that, okay?
Yeah. I can remember I think I put it on a tasting once as well, where it was the Cizak, the Sassicaia, and the Hermitage?
Hermitage as well.
Yeah, and we had all three of them like side by side. That was fascinating. I loved that Sassicaia one. That was my favourite. Loved that.
Sassicaia seems to work.
Yeah.
Don't know if just the sweetness works well with it. But it does work for whatever reason. Some haven't, you know, some are just kind of bland.
Yeah.
One hasn't enhanced the other, it's just kind of annoyed at her. Just annoyed at her. Rather than answering it. But yeah, the Sassacais were working. We did two finishes. Tokai, we did a young and an old Tokai. You remember that? And the old Tokai, I just disliked it so much. It was just didn't work at all. And we did it with a 21-year-old Benromach. It annoyed the 21-year-old. It annoyed it. It was like this stupid sweet cousin that's came in and it's just annoyed it, Whereas we had the younger Benromach, which is far younger, vibrant, and it didn't get annoyed by its sweet little cousin trying to give it all that stupid sweetness again. But they came together and they worked. Whereas the 21, it just didn't work. It just annoyed it. It didn't enhance it. That was my opinion anyway.
I'll take you somewhere tomorrow that they've got a Tokai still. And they got that.
Difficult to get these cars. They were so difficult to get against. And it depends what Tokai cask you have, because they're all graded, because it's always a Hungarian dessert wine, isn't it? And they get it's Pathanias they're called.
Yeah.
And so it goes for, I think 6 is the highest, so I'd be right, Ben, I think.
Yeah,
that's
something like that.
The sweetest of them all, So I think we had a 6 one time. I was a 21-year-old with a 6, and it just bugged it. It just annoyed the hell out of the 21. But that's how it's a strange way. That's why I look at it, Ken. You get two entities coming together, trying to create one. Sometimes it just doesn't work. Yeah. They just do not click. They do that, and then wood finishes do that. And seasonal do that as well, because exactly the same thing has to happen. Can A and B cannot make A, B has to make C, and that's how it has to be whiskey. You've got to make C. You can't be like A, B. It just doesn't work like that, again. So, but yeah, wood finishes are, they work sometimes for me, but I'm not. There's
a lot of things that you're not saying around that bit. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Some have worked for me, but not all.
Not all of them.
Not all of them. No.
Yeah, I think
go on.
Go on, I was just going to say, from a distillery's perspective, one of the things I sort of found fascinating, coming from the background I did and the companies that I did, was Benromach being, as you said, such a small, sort of distillery and two sort of stills and really, sort of old school sort of production styles. The contrast range and stuff and ones that we've gone through this evening, just being a very small part of the the overall contrast range that we've done. One thing I always find fascinating and stuff, sort of being in the sort of sales aspect of it, was that there was so much variety and so many different styles that could be created from such on a grand scheme of things, a small producer. And whether that's sort of, as you said, different distilling sort of styles with the triple distilled, or trying different things out with, the wood maturation and trying different cask styles out. And I think that's the one thing that I think anybody that tries Benromach, there's always that core DNA that underpins it, or the changes and stuff with the contrast range. And that's the whole point of the contrast range is those differences that you can make.
Only really one thing at a time. You start changing 2 or 3 things, you're thinking what's changed it. And you can never replicate it then, because there's too much moving parts. If you just change one thing, like the 2 casts there, the A and the Kiln, that one thing was just the dry process. We kind of tried that as just one thing at a time, and strip it back so you don't have other things. And that's why the organic was unpeated, because we didn't know really if the being organic was going to make a difference to the flavour and all that. Being organic doesn't make a difference to the flavour. Right, fruit, vegetable, it probably will, because of but the whiskey doesn't. Not organic. The organic is about the environmental standards we have, and that's what it's all about. Main thing with the flavour of the organic, it's unpeated, it's American vaginal. The barley's grown in a field with a farmer that doesn't use pesticides. Very little choices there. Is that going to make a difference to the flavour? Of course it's not. If you try and argue any other way, you're completely mad. The barley's there, One reason only, is to produce starch. Nothing else. It has no character difference to character whatsoever. So being an organic farmer, that does it, but it's about the environmental status that we have from it, of everything from the field to the glass is all environmentally managed, and that's the main thing with the organic. The overriding things that make organic different character, American virgin oak and unpeated. But that's the only one. We'll do that for us, apart from the air dried sort of thing. So I guess the organic that kind of evolved over the years, that people buy organic because they like the flavour of the whiskey. Not many people buy it because they want to save the planet, or they have that overriding desire to be environmentally conscious, which all of us are nowadays. It's ingrained in everything we do, our work, our cars, our food, everything we do it has to be, the environment has to be coming forward. And I guess with the organic whiskey, it's more about the way it's environmentally managed, not so much it being organic, and the flavour. So it's really, for me, the organic, it's more about the American virgin oak whiskey that Benromach has, but it's underpinned by the Soil Association.
Yeah,
that's, for me, it is a marketing thing, really, to a certain extent. But being organic isn't the main thing about that whiskey. It's the flavour of the whiskey, but it's fully certified by the Soil Association. That's probably the way I probably would like to see it. It's still an organic whiskey, but in the forefront, it's a style of whiskey. It's Benromach American virgin oak, but it's the only one that's fully certified by the Soil Association. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
Marketing teams and sales teams might see that slightly differently in how they approach that again. So, but it's all about the flavour. It's a drink, for God's sake.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It has to be with the flavour.
It has to be. That's the most important thing.
It's the most important thing.
Right, gents. So thank you so much for that. That was absolutely fascinating. Really good to kind of get the thinking behind it. So consider ourselves extremely lucky that you managed to join us, Keith, tonight.
It's been a pleasure. There's nothing more enjoyable than spending an evening with friends drinking whiskey. That's what. About.
Well, I'm not sure you can call me and Luke friends, but
that's why the world keeps spinning.
Exactly.
I can't throttle him from here.
No, I know. Yeah. You've tried. But fantastic, guys. Really, really good. I'll cut everything together, put the pictures up and put the history up and everything like that. So hopefully, might be early next week by the time I get the bits and pieces together. But that'll be up. I'll give you a shout once it's up and running.
Link and that'll be lovely.
Absolutely, But thank you so much for that. Really, really appreciate it.
Good seeing you again, mate.
Pleasure. Really good to see you again.
Going well, and keep selling that good whiskey. And that's what it's all about, Ken.
Well, I've only got one single cask left, but I've got a feeling that it will probably go quite quickly, particularly after people have tried it. So, great stuff.
I've got the other one. Tried that one, and then Susan said, I've got one left. It wasn't that one she gave me. It was the one that's 59.8. That's 59.9, yeah.
That's the mine, yeah.
And that's the one I was after, but she sold me a different one. It's still a lovely sherry one, but it's not that one. Beautiful. It's not as
and that's all gone now, Ben, and stuff like that. So
I'm sure.
Somebody's in for a treat that's first to click on that. That's for sure.
Definitely, absolutely. And those the air dried and kiln dried. It's fascinating having them side by side. I might just put them, the ones that I've got. I think I've got two of each left, and I might just do them as double pack. It makes more sense for people to drink them together.
No, absolutely.
I agree.
Definitely, absolutely. Definitely,
great stuff. All right, I'll let you get on with it. Have fun tomorrow.
Excellent.
And good to see you guys.
Perfect.
I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks again, mate. All the best.
Cheers everyone.